All right, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. WWE's Money in the Bank 2025, the men's edition. Basically, this is 6 guys packed into this match. I'll tell you that when it comes to picking who is going to win the ladder match spots in their qualifiers on Raw and SmackDown, I think that honestly, LA Knight as well as Seth Rollins was the only qualifying match that I got. When I'm looking at the card, we've got a card featuring Penta, we've got Andrade, we've got El Grande Americano. Those were 3 really big upsets. I think they're kind of just pointing at their connection with CMLL. Now that they have bought the company, they're going to be having the Win Worlds Collide pay-per-view go down right before Money in the Bank. I think it's in the same arena where basically they're going to fill the place up. The show's going to end. They're going to kick everybody out. And then they're going to, fill it back up again for the Money in the Bank show. I'd hate to be going in there. You got popcorn. You got soda spilled all over your seat. Trying to figure it out. But if I could break it down for you, this won't take a long time to really get through. But Andrade was a guy in WWE when he got called up from NXT. I want to say it was like 2016, maybe it was 2017. When he got, the superstar shakeup and he got called up to SmackDown, I really thought this guy was going to be World Heavyweight Champion within a year. I definitely thought he was going to be fighting in the main events of SmackDown within a year. I thought that he was such a huge talent with Vega on the outside that there was no doubt in my mind that he had it written all over him. I don't remember how long he stayed in WWE before asking for his release and then going to AEW. Whether that was like 2019, 2020 when they were first getting going, and then just being like, wow, they gave him his release. They're just handing a main event guy to AEW. It didn't work out there. And then once it all came down, he came back to WWE. And I don't want to say that I had my hopes up. I wasn't saying that, they were going to push this guy to the main event again. I thought he was just somebody coming back to the company. He would be able to be on the road with his wife. And they'd be able to be together more. And maybe that was just a point in his career that he wanted to be in. He gets divorced. And I was like, I don't really understand what the hell's going on. And I thought he would be a guy that just sort of wrestled good matches and just kind of held on to his spot on the card. And I never thought that he'd be added to this Money in the Bank match. He is honestly one of the biggest surprises to me. When I looked at AJ Styles and CM Punk, I really thought that Punk was going to win last night. El Grande Americano came from behind. He was able to win the match, and Chad Gable is going to be wrestling twice on Saturday, once on the Win Worlds Collide show, once here in this ladder match. I know they got huge things for it, but there was no doubt in my mind. I think I broke down that video pretty fast on who I thought was going to win on Monday, and I don't think he had a chance. If you were able to bet in Vegas, if you were to walk up to the table, I think they would have took whatever bet you wanted, because I don't think anybody thought there was a chance in hell that El Grande Americano was going to pull out a win there. When I look at the other guys in this match, Solo Sikoa, I'm a fan of Solo Sikoa. I buy his rookie cards for whenever I can find them for about $1. I buy his autograph cards for whenever I can find them for about $10. Solo Sikoa is one guy. I'm not trying to throw any shade at him, because I am honestly a huge fan of this guy. He lived in the same town that I currently reside in, that I've been in for the last 17 years. He came up around here. He went to high school, not where my daughters go, but to a different school. He played football for American River, which is the community college here. I've always been a big fan of him throughout the bloodline, waiting for him to get his turn. And, he does have a SummerSlam main event to his name. You got to give it to him. But In this last year, he really took the back seat where he kind of like took a managerial role ever since, the bloodline kind of came to a screeching halt. And now he's kind of out of soldiers. And for him to be added to this match kind of shows me that they're still going to be, chugging along with him. If you remember back to the early days of the 2010, 2011 videos, I was a fan of Jack Swagger. One of my first videos was me cheering him winning the championship when he cashed in on Chris Jericho, the SmackDown after WrestleMania 26. I thought that he was going to have a huge career, and even as it started and stopped, I stayed with him until he was done with WWE. I think that's the way I'm going to be here with Solo Sikoa. I don't think it's over. I think he's going to have a big SummerSlam match. I thought that they would set that match up inside of this Money in the Bank match, where basically they would fight over who was going to climb to the top and actually win this thing. And actually that was going to be what set up their fight, where they were fighting each other. And as they were fighting each other, somebody else would sneak up from behind and they would win the men's Money in the Bank. So I'm glad for that. LA Knight, I'm not the biggest LA Knight fan. I think he had his rise to the top of WWE when I wasn't watching. He's just kind of the guy. I know the chant, yeah. I mean, I'll do it when we go to the shows. People were chanting for him at WrestleMania, but he's just the guy I look at, and he's not my star. I'm not going to say that he's not an all-star. People love him. People buy his shirts. People do this, that, and the other. They dress up like him when they go to the shows. But he's just not my dude. Now, Penta, he came to WWE when he jumped from AEW, and they made him as big of a star as AEW ever did. I can remember them having a good little run in the beginning of AEW, and then all of a sudden they just kind of fell to the back. It seemed like they were doing more stuff in Mexico than they were doing for AEW. They never really got the biggest push that I think they really could have. We never even really saw them as single stars, at least when I was watching AEW. To see him, jump onto the main screen, he got like 3 wins in a row, was just like, damn. And they were just presenting him like he was bigger than life. Since then, he sort of came back down to earth. They're kind of cooling him off. Money in the Bank could be something, to project him up the card. When I look at this match, though, Seth Rollins, that guy wants to, that's the one part I don't really understand. Seth Rollins wants to run Raw. He doesn't want to run wrestling. He wants to take over and run Monday Night Raw. He wants to be the dominant force of Raw. So we already know that on Monday, we're going to have a WWE championship match. Jey Uso is going to be putting the title on line against Gunther in a WrestleMania 41 rematch. And after that, everything's clear for him to go after either Gunther or Jey Uso along the way. I don't really understand a world where Gunther is still on the Raw roster if, in fact, Seth Rollins wins this match. Even if he doesn't, I don't see, Gunther falling down to the mid-card. And I think that anything that Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed is involved with, I think that is going to be your main event storyline of Monday Night Raw. And what does that really leave Gunther for? So, I mean, if I was a SmackDown brand, I would be calling up and just basically be trying to offer Gunther anything to come home. If Gunther wins the championship come Monday, I don't know what that does for Rollins either. You just hold on to Money in the Bank and just keep beating up the main card wrestlers that aren't involved in the championship match. If you want to run Raw, you got to be the champion. I mean, that's just the only way I can think to run it. So, do they get involved on Monday? I'm not quite sure. But, I mean, if Rollins was to try and cash in at the end of Money in the Bank, you would think that Gunther would be there trying to say, hey, you're not doing this tonight because on Monday I have my championship shot. If you want to talk about this after Monday, that's fine. But then again, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker being there, they're going to have the numbers over a solo, Gunther that doesn't have, Kaiser waiting in the wings. Or does he? Is he going to start building up his own heel brand by bringing him back into the fold? So this is going to be a good match, a really, really good match. I think there's really good players in here. Everybody's going to have a time to shine. But I just think it's too loaded down with Seth Rollins in this match that Seth Rollins has to be the Money in the Bank winner for 2025.